When we talk this game design, we often talk about goals that you have and then the tools that you have to get them. And you always have to worry about incentives. And recently on Twitter, we got to see a great example of when you have mismatched incentives that then create bad behavior. So yeah, I'm gonna. If you don't want to hear me picking on Musk and Twitter, don't listen. But this is a really great example of just how bad it gets. So we have the Baltimore tragedy the other day, where a cargo ship crashed into a bridge, and that crash came with such force that it damaged a bridge and sent it into the water, killing 6 people. That's what happened. But what happened on Twitter, which again, Elon Musk claims he wants it to be the center of news. Why would you go to mainstream media when you could go on to Twitter and see what's happening, the truth? So first, I actually saw this news when it happened on TikTok. I saw somebody had posted the video that's just the reaction, which is just all the news sites cleared the profanity out of it, but it was just like, oh my God, can't believe what just happened. And it's that weird thing of like everybody just has a camera now. And so we get a lot of news things covered. There's no nefarious reason why somebody's filming something. Somebody's filming something all the time now, right? But so what happens is there are a bunch of people now in the breaking news where it used to be the breaking news. You would have verified users up top, and it would be a lot of reporters, it'd be a lot of news sites, and you'd get a lot of different versions of the story or a lot of different perspectives. And maybe they'd have an interview with somebody who used to work for the bridges or somebody who used to work in the shipping lanes, but some kind of insight into it. The problem is we don't have that anymore on Twitter. And instead what we have is we have the thing that happened in NFTs, and that's is it goes down to who can make enough money for wherever they live to justify taking the time to engage with this, right? So if you don't know, whenever anyone talks about like the success of an NFT game, which they're talking about one, Axie Infinity, yes. What they're talking about is they would literally judge it by, could players make more money than a Filipino cab driver in a day? Because if not, they would go drive cabs. And that's who their player base was these players who were like, oh, I could play this game and make more money. I'll just do this. And so Twitter's news feed and the breaking news feed in particular is filled with accounts like this, right? They come from places where wages are suppressed. And so they can play arbitrage and spend some time making it. And so I'll share some of these and you'll probably see some consistencies among them, but they're just reposting news that they've taken from someplace else. They're offering no insight and often not understanding what they're talking about because they're on the other side of the world and they've never been to Baltimore. They have no information. And in fact, here we have one posting false information about this car being in it, including a picture. And it's bridges chilling, my heart breaks for the city. But okay, but you're actually spreading misinformation. You're just aping words that you think you want to hear people hear, right? And you hear somebody just repeating the same news again and again, right? And it's just all variations of that. And here, see, somebody else posted the picture of the car that has no connection in it. And you would just see this again and again. And then you have people like this who posted just flat out false information of a large explosion, right? And just pushing in misinformation. And this fills the breaking news response because they know what gets coverage, right? So it's essentially AI, right? They're mechanical turking it, where they're supplying the news. And they're doing this because the incentive is if I get a blue check, and they're probably faking locations to get that blue checking, be able to get a monetization on it. If they get enough engagement, they will earn money. And so they will hop on to any trending topic and start posting like this. And in fact, if you go to the actual news sources, you will see them often comment to the real articles as a way to try to draw people in because they're giving you the sensational version of the news, not the factual, right? And so this just brings this up, right? And it just kills the ability for that site then to be the place you go for breaking news because it's just filled with this. There's never any insight or information. You have to know who to go to, right? And so say what you want about Musk, this just simply kills the idea that they're going to be the source for news, right? And then it gets worse where you have then what's taken over Twitter is this right-wing stuff where they're sure DEI somehow had to do with it because a foreign flagged ship was... These people are so stupid. It is impossible to start getting into the discussion of this, or like this David guy with the blaming the right. I mean, yeah, hey, it's really funny. Let's just say that somehow blame it on trans people because sure, right? And so this is all these hate-filled responses, and they will go and they will post this, they will put it in comments, and they will just clog up the system with this kind of garbage, right? And this is what's happening instead of actual news being covered. And so whatever you want to say about their positions, whatever you want to say about the politics, whatever you want to say about Elon Musk, besides that he's a white nationalist, this is just a broken system because they made these incentives with no barrier. So this is why, if you ever wonder in a game, you don't allow people to, why don't they let me cash out what I collect in Call of Duty? Because then they would have this problem, right? Where people would arbitrage what they're doing because, hey, can I make more money doing this? Versus, hey, if I can only trade it among other players, I can't arbitrage. I can't make more money on it, right? So you put that limit on there and then you keep it to the players because you want the players to be playing and you want to have them interacting with other players. You want to have a marketplace independent of players, right? And this is why Web3 is not exciting for most people because most people, even if they can't vocalize what they're worried about it is, that's it. Because they don't want a marketplace sitting, outside of the game because that creates all this bad incentive, right? And if you think cheating's bad now, think about if you're trying to make a living playing a game and the more you win, the more money you make, right? And so that's why Web3 is not this inevitable thing that's going to take over gaming, why NFT gaming is not going to take over gaming because you get to own your thing or make purchases. There's a whole bunch of incentives, right? And if you do any of these kind of systems, you have to build a bunch of safeguards in place. Musk and Twitter have none of them in place, and they are paying the price for that, right? And so as you think about your game design and you think about how you want players to behave, use this as a really great lesson because it, at the surface, makes sense of you're going to empower people to cover the news, dig deeper. The problem is nothing they make covers the expense of actual journalism of the places that you see in ProPublica, MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, all those places you can mock and say, journalism. But they spend money on real journalism that isn't captured in these quick little 10-second bits here and there, right? Where these accounts can just capture that little bit of money, but they capture the attention of the story without doing any of the work for the story, right? And so it's very surface level, very just transactional, very quick. And that's why you get this gummed up and why Twitter is just such a hellhole and you shouldn't go on Twitter. And I only went on Twitter to get these stories. You can follow me on Blue Sky, YouTube, or TikTok because any of them are better than Twitter.